7.
Good evening. Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the East Bridgewater Planning Board, Monday, March 17th, 2025. Welcome to all here in the room and watching. We have, acting on for the board this evening, we have our regular members, Diane O'Phillips, Rachel O. Tedesco, Roy O. Gardner, Yvonne McCrae is our McCrae is our associate member, and Miles O'Heger is our regular member as well. And Kevin Riley, obviously. Kevin O'Reilly. It was actually Kevin O'Reilly, chairman. We have a number of items to get through this evening on the agenda. We do not have minutes available. We'll have a couple of them for the next meeting. Our first item to take up then is a Form A application for property at 40 Stone Meadow Drive. This is a plan that was submitted by Mr. and Mrs. Devine, landowners. Mr. Gardner, can you bring that up? Basically, what they're seeking to do is to divide existing assessor's map 66 lot 9 into two parcels, lot 9A and 9B. 9B being simply a 22,192 square foot piece, which abuts directly two properties that front on Cedar Street. As you will see.
It's not going to be, I don't think, from what I looked at just a few minutes ago. The plan's actually there.
Okay. So unfortunately, we don't have the plan uploaded, but it is a fairly straightforward plan. It appears it would be part of purpose for part of a land transfer to square off some boundaries with those properties on Cedar Street. Comments or questions with regard to the request for the endorsement of the plan? Hearing none, Chair would entertain a motion then to authorize the endorsement of the Form A plan, which is dated February 24th, 2024, by Silva Engineering Associates for property at 40 Stone Meadow Drive.
So moved.
Motion, Mr. Gardner. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Heger. Further discussion? None? Sorry.
So just quickly, what I could gather from the review of that Form A plan is that there's a small triangular piece of property that's going to be swapped between the two abutting property owners. I have to believe that the reason for that is there's probably an encroachment of a building or a fence or something that needs to be corrected to fix the problem that's on that site. It wasn't clear from the plan exactly what they were trying to fix, but both of the abutting properties clearly meet the requirements for subdivision rules and regulations in terms of property area, building locations, setbacks from property lines, and so on and so forth. So I apologize for not having the actual plan available to view on the screens here tonight, but based on the review, there should be no issues with approving that Form A plan. Since, number one, there's no new lots being created. Existing lots already conform to requirements under subdivision rules and regulations. And from the notes on the plan, the small parcel being created by this Form A plan are being created so that that land can be conveyed to the abutting property owner. So given that, I see no reason not to approve the plan as a Form A plan, subdivision control not required.
Okay, so the motion has been made by Mr. Gardner and seconded by Mr. Heeger. All those in favor of that motion so signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? Unanimous vote of all regular members present and voting. Next matter is also a Form A plan. This relates to the property at 0 and 13 Cross Street and 296 Central Street, submitted by Joseph and Thomas Smith. Basically, the purpose here is to divide existing Assessor's Map 63 Plot 50 and 63 Plot 49 into 3 lots. Basically, the intent ultimately to be that the entire Victorian house and such be contained on a single lot, where right now it is not. Do we have that, Mr. Gardner?
Again, I don't think we do actually, but. Oh, we actually,
there we go.
We actually have this one.
This is this one.
Comments or questions with regard to this particular plan? Roy, I think you had some comments regarding the...
Yeah, I think the additional plan, this site is the Smith's property at the intersection of Cross Street and North Central Street. The long-term plan here is to try and allow the use of the existing facility to be a daycare site. I think that the changes shown here are to attempt to separate and make sure that the Title V septic system that goes with the existing building, which used to be the function hall, which potentially will now be the future daycare center, is that the septic system and the daycare center remain on the same physical lot under zoning. So I don't believe there's any issues with this existing Form A plan. So given that, I would recommend that we agree to endorse this plan as approval under subdivision control not required.
Take that in the form of a motion by Mr. Gardner to approve, seconded by Mr. Heeger. So the motion is to authorize endorsement of the Form A plan for property at 0 and 13 Cross Street, 296 Central Street, dated January 28th, 2025, by PMP Consulting. All those in favor of that motion so signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Again, unanimous vote of all regular members present and voting. It's a little bit early before our 7:15 public hearing. Mr. Gardner, did you have anything? If we want to maybe pop down to item D1, Layla Estates. I don't believe the office, and certainly I have not had any further updates regarding Layla Estates from the developer. I don't believe you have, and perhaps the move to make at this time would be to send out a follow-up letter to the developer, who apparently had been in discussions with the utility companies and so forth as to a plan of action, and give them a time frame within which to respond.
Yeah, so I'd like to make a motion at this point to request an update letter from the developer of Layla Estates to give us an update as to where it stands with the utility companies as well as the residents within the subdivision, to address the issue of the street lights, which according to our subdivision approval, still required 3 formal street lights within that subdivision. One at the intersection with Summer Street, one at the intersection of the roads within the subdivision, one at the cul-de-sac at the end of each of the subdivision roads. My understanding is the town has agreed that the intersection with Summer Street, the existing street light would be acceptable, leaving 3 street lights remaining that need to be provided by the applicant. The applicant has verbally and as well as email indicated previously that he's working with National Grid to come up with a solution to that problem. or that issue. Although we have it now, I think I believe at least 2 months, we haven't received an update from the applicant, so at this point in time, I would request we send a letter to the applicant to provide us with an update as to the status of that situation.
I'll second that motion, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. So motion is made by Mr. Gardner. Time frame, Mr. Gardner, 14 days?
I think 14 days would be adequate.
Okay, 14 days. So motion is to send the letter to the developer requesting update with regard to the status or the progress with regard to location and installation of street lighting for Layla Estates. Motion is made, Mr. Gardner, seconded, Mr. Heeger. Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of that motion so signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I abstain because it's a subdivision.
I'm an aye.
Okay, and Roy, yes, so you made the motion, so you have unanimous vote of all members present and voting. Okay. Being 7:15, whereabouts, we will have the McLaughlins come forward. So this is a public hearing with regard to the modification of a previously approved subdivision plan. For purposes of hearing, we'll read the legal notice. Legal notice, Town of East Bridgewater Planning Board pursuant to provisions of Mass General Laws, Chapter 41, Section 81W. East Bridgewater Planning Board will hold a public hearing on Monday, March 17th, 7:15 PM in the Town Office Building, 175 Central Street, second floor conference room, on the application of Richard D. McLaughlin, owner, seeking to modify the subdivision plan previously approved by the Planning Board on June 17th, 2024, relative to property at 653 Union Street. Property is shown as Parcel 8 on East Bridgewater Assessors Map 79, is located in a Residence 1 zone. Plans are on file and can be reviewed at the Planning and Building Department Monday through Friday during normal business hours. So as usual, our procedure in the public hearing will be to hear from the applicant. We will then hear from anyone in the audience who might have any questions, comments, or concerns. And then we will have the board with any questions or comments and see where we end up from there. So, folks, my understanding from what was submitted is that the changes that are required are necessary because of site conditions that were discovered as the development was beginning. So if you could kind of just take us perhaps through a little bit of that, and we can then take it from there.
So basically, the original plan had where it's a fire truck turnaround, which kind of would have required us to basically move our fence and take a chunk out of the yard, rather than just putting it behind the pre-existing fence and having to do kind of less changes with the actual lot itself. According to the engineers, there was appropriate square footage to be able to do that without really changing any of the existing boundaries of anything, so. And we can't kind of go forward with anything until we get this approved for the, that if the fire truck had to make any access there.
Okay, and just for the record, neglected to have you identify yourselves.
Sorry.
I know who you are, but maybe everybody else doesn't.
Richard and Miranda McLaughlin, 653 Union Street,
Thank you.
East Bridgewater. Sorry about that.
Nope, my fault. Excellent. Okay. So basically what we're changing would potentially be the, just the end, if you will, of the proposed way, or the location of the proposed way at its end. Okay. Anything else that you guys want to add at this point?
No.
Pretty much
not
it?
really.
Okay. Anyone in the audience wants to speak on this matter? Anyone here to speak with regard to 653 Union? Second time? Third time? Chair would entertain a motion to close the public comment section of the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Heeger, seconded Mr. Gardner to close public comment. All those in favor, so signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed. Unanimous vote of all present and voting. Comments, questions from the board?
So I think Mr. McLaughlin described pretty carefully what's going on here. The turnaround, which is now located a little bit further back on the, what would be the approved subdivision road, was to protect what I understand was some existing topology, including a tree or two, as well as a couple of fences that exist there. So, and both the remaining parcels still meet all the requirements of subdivision rules and regulations in terms of lot area and lot frontage, so I don't see any issues with not approving the revision to the previously approved subdivision plan.
Other comments, questions from the board? Hearing none, chair would await a motion.
Make a motion to approve
Second.
as presented.
Motion is made by Mr. Heeger to approve the modification as based on the definitive subdivision plan submitted by Grady Consulting LLC dated January 4th, 2020, well, dated May 28th, 2024, revised January 4th, 2025, for property at 653 Union Street. Any further discussion? None. All those in favor so signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Unanimous vote of all regular members present and voting. Nice to see you again. Thank you
I have one
kindly.
quick question.
Go fire away.
Do we go through the town to figure out how to separate,
Transfer the names.
So for her parents, Claude and Susan Bisson, do we go to like a real estate attorney in order to get their name put on
The lot.
the lot?
Yeah, so once this plan gets recorded, if you guys are the holders of the,
Yeah.
or they're the, however it is, you would just want to do a deed which describes the lot as per this plan and references the place of recording at the Registry of Deeds.
And that would be, do I do that through the town or through, a private attorney?
So if I could, Mr. Chairman. So a couple of things here. Since we're revising a previously approved subdivision plan, that has to be filed with the town clerk downstairs.
Okay,
It requires a 21-day approval cycle, if you will.
okay,
At the end of that approval cycle, if we receive notice from the town clerk's office that subdivision approval hasn't been appealed, then at that point, we can certify that subdivision approval is finalized. We can sign the plan. At that point in time, using that plan,
okay.
you're gonna have an attorney. You could try it doing yourself, but I wouldn't advise that, but
Yeah,
you can have an attorney draft the deeds necessary to transfer the properties as you feel fit. But that's done between yourself, the future owners, if you will, of the
Yeah.
properties, whoever that may be. And it's done strictly between your attorneys, whoever signs those documents, and recording those documents at the Registry of Deeds.
registry deeds, okay.
So technically speaking, the town has no authority once that process is done. Once we notify you that the plans have been approved,
Yep.
they've gone through the appeal process, we endorse the plans and you record them. At that point, it's up to you to proceed with however you want to do that, okay?
Make sure you get a good price from the new owner.
Yeah, right. Thank you very much.
Thank
guys.
you.
Good to
Have
see
a
you.
nice night.
You too.
Okay, matter that we have under other C1. So that is a site plan review for premises at 798 North Bedford Street. Mr. Casey, I believe, is here.
I think Mr. Smith is also here, yes?
I have one.
Yes, he is.
Is he? I didn't see him behind the post, sorry.
Candy told me.
Thank you.
So Mr. Casey, otherwise known as Mr. Perfectly Flavored. Mr. Flavored, is seeking to occupy two of the bays in Building A at Speedway Park, 798 North Bedford. 2,800 square feet would be utilized for office, kitchen, and prep space, as well as an existing, an executive meeting room, a bathroom, and then just a walk-in and prep table area. So, have Mr. Casey perhaps go through a little bit, just tell us a little bit about the business, what it is you're looking to do, in terms of the business and how you see your fit here and so forth and so on.
First of all, my name's David Casey. The owner of Perfectly Flavored Cafe and Wicked Flavor Food Truck. Feel like this is a little surreal because March 9th, 2020, I think we were sitting in the same room going for our approval for Perfectly Flavored Cafe to open
Yeah.
up. So
Ah.
it's a little strange to be back here sitting for the same type of thing all over again.
Hopefully no world shutdown.
Ugh, seriously. So thank you for all your time. I appreciate having me here again on such short notice. So reason why I want to be here, cafe is at that point where I literally don't have that much space left, as it is. Good problems, but bad problems at the same time. I'd like to grow. I'd like to grow our staff. Just getting into that next level with my staff. I don't want to get it to that point where it's bar and everything else related. So I think catering commissary is where we want to lean with it. My plans with that site is to utilize at least half of it for for a full kitchen. I plan to put at least a 12 to 15 foot hood system in, a kitchen line, very basic, ovens, fryer-later, flat top grill, cooktop. I'm trying to think what else I have inside there. Walk-in fridges, walk-in freezers, proper 3-bay sink, dishwasher, and stuff like that. Extra storage, dry goods, paper goods. I just don't have any of that space now, so I know this drawing is nothing that can land me anything. My kitchen and restaurant design guy just got back from vacation yesterday. He works with Cromwell Solutions out of Stoughton. He does work for Cisco, so that's what they do, is design full specs on everything, site plans. So in the next couple of days, he's gonna come out, do a site visit. That way they can load everything into their CAD system, so I can actually get you guys a full proper sketch, so you can actually approve that. My plan here today is to kind of seek approval to move forward with it, so then I can actually spend the money and get some of this started before I actually get into there and sign it. So I'm
What's
not looking to
what's
go
the
in.
business plan in terms of who'd you be, serving there?
So I'm
Am I
looking to-
gonna be able to walk in there and?
No, I'm looking to not open this to the public at all. This is gonna be strictly for preparation, office work, storage. A lot of our cooking is gonna be off-site, catering off-site. It's gonna be utilized for the food truck. That way I don't have to actually park the food truck and cause a parking dilemma inside Dunks when I gotta unload and load with everybody trying to get in and out. So I will be parking the truck at 798 Bedford. Pretty much a lot of our food deliveries will go there.
Lose all the visibility though. It's such a great sign down
I
there.
know. I'll have to figure something out, see if I can park it near the car wash or something. But trust me, I thought about losing it too, because everybody says that's how they find our cafe, because they see
Yeah.
the big truck sitting outside. So it won't be open to the public. I mean, pretty much just to help grow our catering business to the point where I don't have to worry about affecting my cafe. Cafe is getting ready to re-sign my lease April 1st for the 5 years, so we love it here, honestly. I mean, I'm very grateful to still have our doors open, still have my lights on, still have my staff.
It's a success story. for sure.
So to have some of my staff that have been with me for the past 3 years, and for them to believe in my crazy vision, I'd like to see them keep growing within the company. I'd like to see them keep, being able to make a living and not have to work 2 to 3 jobs with us too. So that's my goal, is to take this to the next level and get it to the point where it's not a full service place like you would see the cafe. So I've been doing my research on what needs to go in. I don't see traffic coming in and out of there like you guys see at the Dunks, coming in and out of our parking lot. So
What do you see in terms of numbers of people that will be there, employee, on a daily basis?
employees, 2 to 3 tops at times, if that. I mean, I'm pretty much gonna utilize that for my office and going back and forth to, bring extra things to the cafe if needed. I'd say probably 2 to 3 prep people, if that at the most. There'll be times where we might not even be there. It could be just go there, load up stuff, and we're off for the day till 10 o'clock at night. So, I do not see cycling anybody in and out of there at all.
Mr. Smith,
Hi,
how are you?
good, how are you?
Okay, comments?
No,
Anything further?
no, other than to tell you who I am, I'm Matthew Smith and I represent the Paytons in Speedway Park LLC. You had asked to have a piece of paper signed with your name on it by somebody in an email or something. I went by the office and I did sign on that.
Just as.
As
allowing-
agent
yeah,
for-
agent, yeah, that's
Yeah, I signed for agent of Speedway Park.
And my site plan application for the Board of Health is actually turned in as well. I was with Sandy this morning, and I was also on the phone with Eric, who's the Regional Health Department, who's gonna be taking full review of it. So I did give him a briefing of everything that I'd like to do over there, same thing as what I've explained to you guys. So I think everybody now is on board or has full
Edges.
information of what we'd like to do over there. So I know that, again, full spec and architectural design is needed before I actually set forth a nail into there. So hopefully in the next week or two, I'll be able to provide that for you guys, so you guys can get a full idea before we pull any permits.
Okay, anybody in the audience that wants to speak with regard to this? See you ladies there, I'm not quite sure why you're here, so no, okay. Members of the board, questions, comments?
Yeah, so I think of what we said before.
Yep.
My view is, at least at the higher level, that this does fit the requirement for the type of use indicated there, since it would be a low number of regular employees,
Yep.
i.e. minimizing the parking. Again, stress that, and you've already said just now, that the real determination as to what needs to go there, how it needs to go there, and so on and so forth, is going to be dictated by the Board of Health.
Yep.
My only follow-up to that would be, we want to see an updated drawing, maybe a little more detailed than the one that's up on the screen right now.
I'll have a full architectural diagram.
After
stuff
the
for you.
Board of Health has decided what you need to do to be able to satisfy your needs. As a long-term resident of the town, I'm more than in favor of a local business expanding.
Appreciate that.
We want to be careful with that site, because that site has, to some extent, limited access and parking because of the overall use there.
Yep.
Again, I think this particular use fits that site. So given the constraint that there not be any residential or retail sales going off of that site to retail customers, then I don't see any real issues here. So I would just ask, from a planning board standpoint, that when your detailed plans are ready, that the planning board or the Board of Health has accepted, those come back to us to look at. And I think at that point, we can make a follow-up action that says we're good to go.
Yvonne has a question.
Yvonne, yes.
Yeah, I have concerns with the parking. You said conference room. How would that be utilized? As your office or?
That's gonna be my office, so
Okay, you
conference
won't be
room is if I
having-
would have like a meeting within the people that were there that day. Yeah, not bringing,
Okay.
gotcha. Sorry about that.
Ladies? No? Miles?
I just would like to say, obviously, I've known Dave for a couple of years now, and common sense goes into it that, he's trying to expand the business, and I think everything kind of strikes what we've been talking about for a time period there, and obviously Mike Payton as well, building that development. To me, a couple of I's to dot and T's to cross, but all things considered, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, like the East Bridgewater is starting to become the next foodie town in the whole area, because
It'd be great.
at this point, I feel like there was only a few over this area when we started, and now it seems like they're all just flocking this way, so fingers crossed.
Can I got a question. So
Fire away.
when would the next planning, you're asking Dave to come back with a final drawing? We, as Peyton Development, would like him to start having a process on moving in so that we can get him up and running. When is the next planning board meeting, or can he send that over to you and you can, how do we go
April
about
7th.
this?
It should be first Monday in April.
Okay.
So, my 3 cents, fully supportive of what you're suggesting, no issue with that whatsoever. I think you run a great business, and I look forward to your expanding it and, you know, doing great things. I'm gonna try not to hold the tenant responsible for the sins of the landlord, however. And the sin of the landlord that I see is that I am still waiting to see arrows, signage, landscaping, all of the things that were approved on the site plan that we did last year. And I have not seen a single one of those as of yesterday.
There are arrows. I took a picture and sent it over to you.
There are a couple of arrows on the
Yeah.
ground, not where they're supposed to be in the middle. There are no signs to the rear of the building, there's no signs designated employee parking, there's no landscaping, which obviously is winter, but that's, be that as it may.
Okay.
So, looking for some sort of a commitment as to when those things are gonna be done.
The parking lot on Building A, which doesn't have occupancy on it yet, so the parking lot is not finished on the other side of Building A.
Right.
So when Building A's parking lot is finished, we will final coat and do all the signage and landscaping. Everything else for Building B and Building C is all finished up and around.
My recollection, and I'll pull it out if we need to, my recollection was there was supposed to be signage to the rear of Building C.
Okay,
That one in
so
the
you're
back.
asking for signage out back?
The no one-way, the traffic flow pattern within the space between the two
Okay.
buildings, that was the other. On the ground, the employee parking designations, which, again, were to be on the far side of the far westerly side of the site. So, you know, again, I just looking to,
So for clarification, my understanding is from what I've seen, is this is like units 3 and 4 out of the 5 units in Building A. Is that correct?
He's rent.
Dead in the, right
I'm
dead smack
sorry,
in the
what was,
middle.
what was the question?
It's three.
Is this buildings, or units 3 and 4 out of the 5 units in Building A?
It's units 3 and 4, correct.
weren't they 1,500 square foot units? No? Am I wrong?
No, they're not 1,500.
Okay.
I thought there were 1,000.
They're like 1,260 or something.
But in any case,
How does that up
it's,
to 2,800?
They're, well, it's 1,400 outside to outside, but then once you put in the walls, the interior partition walls, that's what that's
so
what ends
it
up
is
being.
units 3 and 4 of the 5 units in the original design for Building A, which was just basically a perimeter site with 5 units within it? As I remember that? Is that correct?
There are 5 units in it, correct.
And this is 3 and 4?
This is 3 and 4, that's correct. And our agreement, when I came before you last time, was if anybody is going in there that's not a contractor, that I would come and sit with you and explain
Yep.
what we're looking to
Yeah,
do.
no, that's fine.
So that's why I'm here.
Yep. And I think, I don't know what, if my memory again serves, we had, I think, 44 spaces, parking spaces left to deal with, and I don't know whether we want to assign a particular number of spaces to this particular use, or, I mean, I think that it's obviously a minimal use, I don't know how.
Yeah, I think given the layout of the most previous plot plan that we approved, there should be more than adequate parking for the,
Agreed.
Why, I think the car wash will let me take a couple free spots out front with the food truck, or what?
That's a thought.
They
I
are
know,
business,
I
they
think-
are
I
business
can
feed them,
I
work
think,
them out with
I
them
think,
a
it-
couple free lunches. I see they're updating over there too, so I may be able to watch that thing.
I think in fairness, although I do like the pizza very much, I think in fairness to everyone involved, I think the parking as currently laid out is adequate, provided we stay within the confines of what we've discussed here. The big key difference here is, and I mean, maybe not obviously to you as much it is to us as a planning board, that we can't, within the current confines or the restrictions there, we can't allow retail sales and retail pickups to be going on from there, because that becomes a problem to control the traffic.
Understood. Understood. Trust me, I see how the cafe can get sometimes, so
So, I'm sure you know that, because I've tried to get stuff picked up. I just live around the corner on Grove Street behind Superior Pool, so I know it's tough to get into the lot sometimes at Dunkin' Donuts. So you understand the issue with traffic access and egress, so that's really a critical item that the planning board based on state law and local law that we're mandated to try and keep an eye on, so.
Well,
So-
100% with you on that.
So Matt, just, for clarification, as I'm looking at the plan here, by my observation, there are indeed arrows very close to the access way off of North Bedford Street, between buildings A and B and between building B and the westerly bound of the site. But there are not, to my observation, any others, nor are there the one-way designations that are to be, put on the pavement.
Okay. I'll
along
look into
with-
that tomorrow.
Along with the other signage and so forth. So I have no problem with the idea of what's being proposed. I think it's fine, as I say.
Right.
But,
We're just looking for perfectly to not get held up for another 3 weeks, waiting for you to approve it. So if he was able to get in there to start doing his thing, once he meets with Board of Health on Friday, then that would push us 2 weeks ahead in timetables, that's all.
Yeah, they should, Sandra said today they should be done with my review before the end of the week, so they'll give me a buzz.
All right, so given that, I'm willing to make a motion that we approve the site plan approval for Perfectly Flavored's location at 798 North Bedford with two conditions is, number one, when that formal approval, including whatever the design documents that are presented to the Board of Health, come back to the planning board. And number two, that all of the conditions that are listed in that letter that we got earlier
Yes.
that said what we were gonna do, maintain and enforce, that we're okay with that, which would minimize the parking at that site to somewhere between, I would say, 3 to 6 vehicles at any given time. Those vehicles can potentially include the Perfectly Flavored food truck if you wanna do that. Yeah.
so,
I'll second Roy's motion.
okay, so the motion is made by Mr. Gardner and a second by Mr. Heeger. So Roy, I'm just not clear on what it is your first condition was, what it's,
Well, I think we need a more definitive site plan than the sketch we have here.
right.
They're gonna have to do that as part of the Board of Health application under state law. So, once we receive that, if the Board of Health is okay with that and approves whatever licensing and/or combination of permits they need to issue,
I just didn't wanna start spending a whole ton of money with architect
So-
and engineering.
I
before you
don't,
guys
I
said,
don't believe,
"Okay,
I don't believe based on
good idea to
state,
do it, so now I'm ready to.
yeah, I don't believe based on state law you need any serving permits and/or common viculars licenses, since you're not be serving the general public at that site, and since the general public won't be using that site as a quote restaurant and getting food there, so it's gonna be strictly based on what the Board of Health allows for the various grease traps,
Commissary,
health
yeah.
issues, commissaries, all those other kind of things that the Board of Health is responsible for.
Perfect.
So when would you think you would have those plans in hand?
I spoke with Craig this afternoon. I think I was gonna send him a copy of that 3 and 4 plan that they have on there, that way he can get it, and then I'll just, hopefully, he should be coming out at least sometime this week. That way he can start
So-
get in there and taking a sketch, and then
So would you?
I'm hoping within the next week or two, within the next week and a half, he'll have a full sketch done.
So I'll go back to just clarify my motion on the table here, that I'll make a motion that under site plan approval, we approve this application for the use as defined, providing that the Board of Health has issued approval for all the requirements that they have. And we have a detailed version of that plan that's on the screen behind me.
Submitted by when?
For our next meeting?
Well, before our next meeting, but
That's why I asked the
But,
question.
but I would say right now that if we get all of that and the Board of Health has formally approved everything, and we have agreed to live within the constraints of the letter, the overhead letter that says this is what we're gonna do, then this approval is granted as of tonight's motion. We shouldn't really need to do anything at the next meeting at this point, other than confirm what we've
So
previously agreed to.
Again, I'm not looking to hold anybody up. My only two concerns are, number one, that we actually get the plan. A, because we've had that problem before. And number two, that we get something from Mr. Smith and company with respect to when that, allowing for the fact that obviously pavement and landscaping, you know, is probably a little bit off at this point, but I don't see any reason why the rest of these things can't be done, and perhaps in the form, I would like to see for the next meeting in 2 weeks, just a writing to the office as to what the schedule of those improvements will be.
So April 7th, right? Is
April
that what you
7th.
just said? Okay. So I wrote it down, arrows and
All,
parking lot
everything
signs.
everything that was
Basically
stipulated.
from here over, that's what you're looking for.
I think with the exception of Building A parking and Building A, well, I mean, you can, there's no reason why you can't tell me that too, I suppose.
So it's not paved yet.
I understand that. So when is it gonna be paved? When is it gonna be landscaped? When are the bushes going in? When are the arrows going in? When are the signs going up?
Well,
That's essentially what I'm looking to understand.
gotcha. I'll have answers for you on April 7th.
Perfect. And again, you can just submit that in writing, and that's fine. You don't have to, if you wanna come back and be with us. you're
Come
more
join you for a
than- more
Monday
than-
night?
More than welcome to come
Alright.
in.
All right,
So, Mr. Gardner's motion then, let's see if we can summarize that, is to grant site plan approval for the use as proposed, with a couple of conditions, one being that the submission of a formal, a more formal plan, which is Board of Health accepted and approved, yes?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then secondly, that, I'm sorry, I lost the other thought.
That the applicant agrees to live within the conditions that,
That the conditions
that
that
he
were
has stated
specified
in
in the
the,
letter are
the
incorporated.
letter of
into
how
the-
they're gonna operate the
Yeah,
site.
Yeah, with no retail access or no general public access and so forth, yeah, okay. I'll just add that the landlord is to provide us either in person or by writing an update by the 7th, by our next meeting as to site improvements that.
Okay,
have
that's
been
fine,
previously
that's
approved.
fine on my motion.
Okay,
I'll second that.
I already seconded
yeah,
it.
so you're good with that?
Yep.
Okay. So that motion is made and, by Mr. Gardner, seconded by Mr. Heeger. Any further discussion? None? All in favor of that motion, so signifies by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, that is a unanimous vote of all members present and voting. Congratulations, good luck, thank you for coming.
I appreciate
Forward to your continued
Exciting
success.
news.
Thank you,
I
appreciate it.
sincerely wish you could have managed to buy the,
I tried buying the,
Stand is-
I
no, I
tried.
understand.
Oh, trust me, I
business
know.
is tough these days, so
What did you try to buy?
I've been going back and forth with Karen and them at Standish for a year now.
Oh, yeah,
good luck in the future, and
Yep.
hopefully at some point in time you find something bigger.
an extra million to do what I wanted to do in there, but you know.
You don't have an extra million?
No, not saying this isn't gonna work. No.
Oh, that's,
So I grew up in that business, I know how tough the business is, so
Again, great.
keep up the good work. Keep up the good work.
Lucky to have a good crew.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Matt.
Have a good night.
Thank you. You guys have a good
they were
night.
looking for, yep, good night. They're having one of.
Ladies, you've been sitting patiently.
Yes, we were, it was actually, we came in for, 653 Union
Yes,
originally,
okay,
because we're abutters.
okay.
And when they got up and explained it, they had the picture there. It seems like for this meeting, the only thing that you were really going to discuss is
Just that relocation,
Beeson
Lane, yes, correct.
was that little piece about, did she say taking a chunk of their land, or? I thought it was supposed to make it, the circle bigger for the ambulance. Fire truck,
Right here for the fire truck,
fire
yeah,
truck, oh,
that's the plan.
So are you residents in the, to the rear at the,
yes.
Over
And I wanted
55?
to know how far down and how far close to
it's
my
not,
house.
it's not really,
But I didn't know.
I'll apologize for the lack of organization here, it's what's uploaded
Prizes for
and
me, candy?
try and get back to it, but,
But when they were explaining it, I didn't wanna interrupt at the time because
Oh, that's fine.
I think it just had to do with the land, and I really wanted to
Gotta
talk
really
about the
do something
trees
to
on the
fix
other
this.
side.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So I
okay.
didn't want to say the wrong thing in the meeting, that's why I waited.
Sure.
No, that's fine. Let me
We can
get to
bring
the
it
right
My
place
house
here
is
and,
on the other side.
So you want
Ah.
to keep the trees.
Yes. You got it.
I understand that.
okay, we got there, so.
Okay.
I have one that, Alex gave me too, or, no, it was you, right?
So all that we're doing here, if overly simplified, but this little T-piece right here,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
which includes the turnaround for the fire truck and so on and so forth, that was originally here.
Oh,
And why couldn't it have stayed there?
There's actually a small building here and a big tree here that they don't want to take down.
Oh, it's not in the picture, but there's a tree, okay.
No,
There's a building?
it's not in a subdivision picture, generally trees aren't shown, but
No, but you
the
said
building would be.
yeah, there's a small building here as well that I think was actually in, when this turnaround piece was up here,
Yep,
there's a small building there.
okay.
So when they actually started to work on the site and they realized that the original design hadn't thought through everything, they needed to push the T turnaround a little bit back further into this back lot. So it doesn't change the outside perimeter at all. It doesn't really change the impact of the access here in terms of the land to the rear, which I believe is where the over 55 is up back here and over here.
That's your.
That's you, yeah.
Yeah.
I actually spoke to one of the other residents in there this week about that.
Do you remember who, male, female?
I should remember the name. It was a male.
Dawn? No. Lenny?
No. I had a fairly lengthy discussion with him.
Dave Logan?
No, I'd prefer not to say why I know,
Okay.
why I know him outright, but him and I have a discussion every week when I drop by his house for what I do on one of my other roles.
Yep, well, I know he's doing a lot of things, I know how much
And
he takes care of.
he actually showed me the notice that he got as part of the mailings.
Right, we got that
Yeah,
notice too.
yeah.
May I come up for a minute
Sure.
and show you a picture?
Certainly.
Okay, where is it? Oh, here it is.
This
So,
looks
we
square.
have these, which are up there.
Yeah.
Notice that.
It was just Alex helping me with this, but I didn't know it was.
The trees.
So here's where your lane is going down here, right? Towards
Yes.
our community center?
Yeah.
And this is our walking path back here. And all these trees are here, and my house is right there.
So
And
some of those trees certainly gonna have to get removed to put the house there.
that's
There's
why I was-
there's no question about that.
Right, I just didn't know how much of this was going to be, because when you move that back, that means the house is gonna be moved back, correct?
The house is actually still gonna be in roughly the same
Oh, in the
place.
same place?
Yes.
Okay,
So now,
but
one,
they're gonna probably want a backyard.
so one of the things I would like to say is a planning board member that we can constrain how much of that they can clear. But legally, we can't do that.
Yeah.
They can theoretically clear right to the property line,
Okay.
which is not ideal. As a single-family residential homeowner, I can understand it's not ideal to do it that way, but a lot of developers these days do it that way. They just clear the entire lot and then just put the house in. But
Yeah. Okay.
it's really gonna be up to how they decide they wanna develop that.
So there's no control over
No.
this at all?
We can't legally control that.
Oh, I understand, because it was me buying the lot.
It's not legally wetlands, so conservation can't control that either.
But I didn't say anything in the meeting because we were talking about over here, and I didn't know if I was like, there was another meeting coming.
No, I mean,
No,
that was
no.
approved last year, actually. The
Right.
subdivision was approved last year, so.
Here's
I
what
mean,
happened with last year. We were waiting, they had one, they canceled it because they were going to change the plan. And then they made another meeting, and then that one got canceled, and then they were doing some more change of the plan. then they made another one, and it stayed, it actually was a meeting, but on our letters that we got, it said canceled. And then we found out like a week later, what do you mean? I was talking to someone, he said, yeah, they had the thing Monday night. I said, no, I got one that said canceled. So I didn't come.
Have you tried talking to the landowners to,
No, this is the first time I
That
met
might
him,
work.
and I was gonna say, congratulations,
Yeah.
welcome neighbor, but
Yeah.
I didn't wanna say anything because
yeah,
I wasn't sure who's on TV and who's not, and I just, they seem like very nice people.
Nice people, and I think,
I
you know,
just wanna
they've got
know
family going in there, so I
They're
think
going
they'll
to be
try to,
playing in the other side of my yard,
yeah.
so to speak. I was just
Yeah.
wondering how close it was gonna be.
Well,
But I guess
I'd
it's gonna
talk
be
to
what
him.
it's gonna be.
yeah.
There is some space.
Mm.
There is some space. I was just wondering if they're gonna leave some trees for privacy
No,
and so.
I guess you need to talk to them.
I would think
So,
hopefully
yeah.
they would, but there is quite a bit of open space back here where the house is gonna go, so
Yeah.
Right.
I would think hopefully that they would, but, because that would enhance both the property of the new lot as well as the abutting property, so.
Okay. That's basically
All right.
like why I stayed quiet.
okay.
And you said, I don't know what these ladies are here for. And then I really wanted to see like the site plan, plot plan for the new Meadowbrook. I thought you were gonna have a picture of that. The very first one, the new one coming up on Meadowbrook.
Oh, up on Route 18, no.
No. ZBA.
That's really
those
outside
guys.
our jurisdiction. We do advise ZBA as to what we think we'd like to see done there, but that's really ZBA's responsibility.
But, basically that was it. I was just wondering, I could see this because Alex made pictures for me too, and Candy gave me some the other day. I was in here. And I was just wondering about that section.
And next time, if you come back, we'll have popcorn and beer for you and your friend there. I apologize, we did not have that tonight.
And I apologize, I'm in orange.
That's true.
This
Ah,
morning when I
On
did
St.
press-
Patrick's Day.
that's right,
No,
that
I'm half
could be,
Irish. But I ran out because there was some kind of little like emergency in the, development.
You got some green on too.
Ran out
Yeah.
with whatever I grabbed first, and then from that point on, I never got the change. I'm looking around and everyone's in green. Yeah, my doctor's office and,
Yeah.
oh, I didn't need to do this first. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
thank you, guys.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Nice to see you.
Okay,
Okay, last item on the agenda is just with respect to ADU.
So the update is that the state has posted on multiple locations on their websites,
Yeah, just to-
the
oh,
ADU zoning. There's a whole series of different documents. There is a 5-page document, which I
the
believe.
clean
I-
version, as they say. I think that's included in the packet.
Which I did upload to the, or attempted to upload to the site shortly after the site had stuff created for today. Although it might be in that second duplicate folder.
Hit general, I think.
And I'll apologize again for, somehow we ended with duplicate folders dated March 17th, which we need to fix,
okay.
so it doesn't happen again going forward, but
Yeah.
I'm not gonna sort this out because of the problems here, but.
Yeah, I mean, this, what I just passed out, I mean, that's the guidance, yeah, exactly, that's the guidance that came out of, there was a Zoom meeting last week, which, I don't know, Roy, whether you attended, but I did.
Yeah, I did.
And so in there is, sort of a suggested or a model bylaw. The terminologies are a little bit different than what we did last fall. There is some new terminology that they've used in terms of protected ADUs and local ADUs, making a distinction there so that, you know, you can, as a community, go beyond what the state would allow if you so choose. So what I thought was that I would just try to reconcile what we did in the fall and what the state has put out, because I think there are changes that would be necessary, or some updates would be necessary to what we did in the fall, based on this guidance that they've now submitted, and then I'll try to have that for the next meeting that we can discuss with the intent that if we do feel it, you know, significant enough, that we would go back to town meeting at the annual town meeting and make those changes.
Okay. So you're asking that we study this?
Just take a look at it, you know, and as I say, I'll try for the next meeting to have, you know, something updated on the bylaw that we have, and just working what they've, you know, now put out into that, and go forward from there.
Yeah, so my only comment to this is I think we understand the intent of what the state's trying to do here. And that's to allow existing residents to age in place in the buildings that they're in by adding additional units, either to allow someone to rent and/or buy or purchase their property, and then they can rent back an accessory dwelling unit,
Right.
or whatever the case may be.
Okay.
There's 3 different locations on the state websites, none of which reconcile really well. But on the official state ADU guidelines, rules and regulations, there's a 5-page document that's pretty concise and pretty to the point about what you have to allow. This is
Thank you.
You're welcome.
a very heavily increased verbiage and wording as to what the intent is of what's going on. There's a third site that is somewhere in between the two of these. But the bottom line is the town has to allow, as of right, building permits to be issued, provided that the physical buildings comply with zoning, and that those physical buildings have to be allowed without any formal further site plan approval other than what's required to issue a building permit, and without any special permits. That's an oversimplification of the rules, but they're pretty clear. If someone wants to build an in-law apartment, or whatever you want to call that, as of today, actually as of February 16th or 17th, whatever that date was, it's an allowed use, and you have to grant the permit. I also understand from, I think it was the third site that I looked at, that all of those communities in the state of Massachusetts that used to require highly constrained special permits for accessory dwelling units, those permits all now are gone. You can no longer require that the kitchen be removed from a building. You can no longer require that there be constrictive or constrained documentation at the registry of deeds determining what the allowance of that site was, and so on and so forth. All of those go away, and it's now simply an allowed use under zoning.
So in short, it means that the owner of the property has to go before the building department to approval of the plan, and that's...
Fill a building permit, yes.
Building permit, yep, and that's...
If you're gonna physically change the existing building, or add to the existing building, or build a separate standalone building,
Right.
they have to go to the building department for a building permit, yes.
I think the other thing that was additional in there, Roy, was that the idea that there needs to be some language with regard to an objective standard by which these things are reviewed, which would sort of be along the lines of the so-called Dover Amendment from back when, in terms of a reasonably objective standard that one could, measure, and which was not intended to, prohibit the use. So, I mean, the standards can be adopted, but, they have to be well crafted. So.
Yeah, that language was a little bit
Yeah, yeah.
convoluted in my
Agreed,
opinion,
yeah.
but there is some language in there along those lines, yes. So I had one last item for tonight.
Yes.
If I could, Mr. Chairman.
You certainly may. Apologize for the noise I'm making.
That's fine. I have put together with some input from multiple different people, including our chairman, including Conservation Commission, through Craig at the Conservation Commission as a member of Conservation, as well as through the DPW, through John Haynes, to propose a town engineering employee.
Yes.
There is a job description I've been working on, again, I should say we've been working on jointly. We've run into multiple problems, especially recently, where our inability to have immediate response to a problem that needs an inspection, which would typically be done by an engineer. Since we're working with contract engineers, we have a multi-step process to have a contract engineer review anything. We have to ask him what we need to get done. He has to provide us with an estimate to what needs to get done. We have to get that estimate approved and a contract signed before they can come in. Everyone at the track meeting agrees that we need someone on staff that can immediately go look at a problem. Financially speaking, well, let's talk, before we get to financially speaking, let's talk to the fact that we're virtually the only community in eastern Massachusetts, east of Worcester, which is almost 200 communities, that does not have either a planner on staff or an engineer on staff. Many of the communities around us have an engineering department with multiple employees and one or more planners on staff. We're about the last one left that has neither. So we've put together a job description for an engineer with an expected salary point, and that salary point would be depending on the experience of that engineer. The version 3 of that document, draft 3, would have that engineer be supervised and hired by the DPW, since a significant amount of his work would come from the DPW. Roadway improvements, roadway reconstructions, roadway resurfacings, and things like that that need engineering support. In addition to the 2 sewer districts which we have, the downtown district and the northern district, which is that district which are going to be, as I understand it, beginning construction very shortly, coming from Brockton off of Thatcher Street and so on and so forth. We desperately need an engineer in the town. I understand we have significant constraints financially, but based on the amount we've paid for an outside engineering firm for all of the various town departments involved, which are the DPW, the Planning Board, the Board of Health, and the Conservation Commission, it appears that by adjusting our fees for development within the town to reflect the amount of money that developers actually paid to engineering services, that we would be very close to fully paying for that position. And instead of paying it to someone outside that we don't have immediate response to, would have an actual in-house employee that if we had a problem on site, at one of our sites, we could ask that employee to go do a quick inspection. Because we can't do that right now. And that's been a serious problem in at least 2 locations in town over the last 18 months. So the plan is to forward that job description with the support of a planning board vote to the Board of Selectmen and ask that they consider forwarding that to the Finance Committee. I'll continue to work on the job description based on the feedback I get from multiple departments, including Conservation, Board of Health, Planning Board, as well as the DPW. And John Haynes and I have been in close contact regarding this. Again, as it stands right now, given his position, he would be the hiring supervisor. And I will, I have a whole bunch of spreadsheets that show how much we've paid to third-party engineering firms for all of the reviews we do. because we do not have any engineering services in-house, so everything is farmed out. I think as a planning board, we know that the firm that we've been dealing with in the past has been bought out and is now a larger firm, and fees have been changing. But a combination of the fees in conjunction with the process we need to go through to get inspections done is becoming onerous in terms of individual developers in town. So I would ask at this point, for a motion from the planning board to forward that job description to the Board of Selectmen and request that they forward that to the Finance Committee for potential action, so that we can potentially have that, at least the finances that are approved at the town budget, so that we can proceed with potential hiring of a town engineer.
So,
I'll make a motion.
Mr. Heeger makes the motion that planning boards send a completed job description for the position of town engineer to the Board of Selectmen with a request that it be forwarded to the Finance Committee for consideration and potential inclusion of the position in the upcoming budget. Is that the sense of your motion, Mr. Gardner?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so, or Mr. Heeger, I should say some. Motion is made by Mr. Heeger and seconded by Mr. Gardner. Is there further discussion or questions from the board?
I
Diane?
just had one question, because I know we had talked about having, I mean, you had also mentioned that that we could have used a town planner. Would those, was there a reason you leaned more toward the civil engineer versus town planner?
Yeah, the rationale behind that is a civil engineer would be qualified to do formal review of plans submitted before any of the four principal departments / committees involved, being Concom, Board of Health, Planning Board, and DPW, which technically speaking, a planner based on his credentials would not be authorized to do. I mean, he could comment on it, but he couldn't make a formal recommendation. The second piece of that is review of the current expenses we've been paying independently through the individual developers directly to, and the way we do it is we do a bonding system. We bond the money goes to the town treasurer. The bills from the consulting engineer go to the town treasurer. We authorize payment to that, so technically, that's not coming out of the town budget. But those monies have been well over $100,000 for each of the last 3 years. So they would at least cover a majority of the expenses incurred for town engineer. And at least theoretically would give us better control over what we see and what the DPW and the other departments want to see done with an actual employee at the town level as opposed to a third-party engineering firm.
That makes a lot of sense to me. The technical knowledge of the civil engineer is very important.
Further discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion so signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Unanimous vote of all members present and voting. So once you have the final product, Roy, forward it along.
Yes. Okay, thank you all.
Hopefully a positive action comes out. Okay, anything further to come before the meeting this evening? There being nothing, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion is made by Mr. Heeger, seconded by Mrs. Tedesco. All those in favor of that motion so signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, say no.
Aye,
Unanimous vote of all present and voting. Thank you.
yes.